Hey everyone, this is Travis, the never-ending streamer, and I wanted to touch on Survivor 50, the cast. I haven't spent really any time breaking down who's going to be on Survivor 50. Haven't really even focused on, what it means for certain players to be back or any of the cast to be back. And so I thought I would hop on and do a video to kind of openly talk about my thoughts on the cast and have the cast pulled up. I'm on Entertainment Weekly by Dalton Ross. So I thought I would use his cast listing to go through each player. He does it in order of when they appeared. So let's just jump in and if I don't have much thoughts on the person, that's okay. Because I'm not gonna know how every player is gonna do, and every season's different. So this season could be completely old school mentality, keeping the strong. It could be, you know, something where the threats are immediately taken out to minimize challenge beasts later on. So Dalton Ross starts with Jenna Lewis Doherty. Um, she played in the first season in All Stars. I think absence from the game might help her in this season. Um, I just think that the farther back you've been, I think one, maybe you're not going to be seen as such a threat because it's considered the new era and things are happening. Maybe people will think that people who played in the old school era maybe will have a tougher time adapting. So maybe they won't be seen as necessarily threats, but easier to be an ally. Um, and I think with Jenna, I mean, I think she is the longest returning player who hasn't played in the longest time. Of course, I can speak. Um, so I think she has a shot at like making it through those first few days because I always feel like you got to establish yourself, find your niche, find your group, and then try to like get your way to the merge, and then all hell breaks loose. Um, and so I think she has a chance to do well and have decent shot of making it to at least the merge, if not further. As far as winners, maybe I'll talk about that at the end. Um, Next, Colby Donaldson, he's, you know, Australian Outback, All Stars, heroes versus villains, someone who has done well. And I could see, you know, is there going to be the should we call it bro alliance, where the big strong guys kind of team up and try to protect each other. So it'd be interesting to see how the cast is divided, and what that means for, these, you know, typical strong challenge threats. I think, you know, heroes versus villains was kind of, I think, I'm not sure how he worded it, but kind of like a reality check where he didn't seem like he was as satisfied with his performance in challenges, but he did make it to fifth place. Um, so I think Colby is kind of a wait and see. I could see him being an early target too. Next, Stephanie LaGrassa Kendrick. Um, Interesting with her is the next person on the list is Sari. And just because they were on recently watched Traders season their season recently, I think maybe a month or two ago, and seeing them together was great. Uh, but I'm wondering if there is going to be any issues with trust after that season. So I think both players are capable. You know, Stephanie was second place in Guatemala. And Suri, is dubbed like the greatest to never have won. So I will say I don't have a lot of feedback on Stephanie other than the fact that her ability in recent reality TV to kind of still be impactful, last in the game, I think bodes well for Survivor 50. With Sabri, outside of heroes, villains, I feel like she always finds a way to manifest like this community vibe where everyone loves her. They want her to be around. She's a great communicator. Um, and obviously, she's very crafty, very smart, knows how to kind of wiggle in and out of situations. So I think you can never, ever count out Suri. So I can't imagine. The only thing I can think of for her and maybe someone like Ozzy, who's next on the list, being voted out early is because they've played so many times. Like if they get on a tribe that's primarily of one-timers, I could see that being a problem. If there's a bunch of new eras, they also might be like, "Hey, Sari, you're on our tribe." Heck yeah. Um, but I do think the number of times played could possibly sway players say, you know what, you've had a lot of times, I love you, you're great, but you got to go. So I think for Suri and Ozzy, who is next on the list, I do see that that could be a problem. Now, if Ozzy comes on, he's next. If he still does the whole provider thing, I don't know. That mentality, provide, do well in challenges. That's kind of been his thing. And he's typically has he made the jury each time? I should have researched before I did this. So there is something about his game that sustains to a certain point. So I do think that Cerie's ability to communicate and connect helps her. Ozzy's, old school. I'm gonna, do well in challenges, feed the group. I also think that benefits him as well. But I do think if people are one-timers and like, you know what, we need a one-timer to repeat. I could see that being trouble for Ozzy and Suri. Next is Coach. Um, you know, I, he's played three times. I don't know. I could see him going far. I don't know why I say that. I think I mean, outside of Heroes Villains, where, he didn't get into the top 10, fifth place finish, second place finish. Um, there is a bit of, you know, charisma about him, mixed with that, like wanting to control the situation. I'm interested to see how he blends with the new era. So I do think Coach is another player. I think when he gets in the game, I think people, for whatever reason, will want to be on his good side or um, not see any type of like issues because there's been like, with South Pacific, he had that group mentality, people were with him. And if he can find that group, I think he can do the same thing he's done before. Aubrey, um, I I'm not sure about Aubrey in this season. She played three times in such a short span. Um, I think she's fully capable of playing and winning. Um, I wonder if just initial thoughts, if that burst of wanting to like sustain that mentality of like going through it, because I feel like her second place finish in Co-Wrong, that was a brutal hit, I think. Just as a viewer standpoint, because I remember watching it thinking, I thought maybe she played the better game. Michelle won, so she obviously earned it. Um, and then coming back to back again so soon, I'm interested to see how she acclimates. And I think if she can just get set in and find a group that wants to play with her, because obviously Edge of Extinction, no one wanted a returning player uh to win. So it was like kind of like a wasted season for returning players. Um, so it'll be nice to see if she can kind of find her groove like we know she can, and then if she can find a group that wants to work with her, I think she'll be fine. So and I think her relationship with Suri on Game Changers was good. So I think if they can land themselves together in the same, there'll be that bond there that will help them and help Aubrey. Uh, Chrissy from Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, uh, like what I remember, very good in challenges, you know, you know, has the aspect of controlling the game, um, knowing what buttons to push. Um, I think she could do really well. Um, yeah, I mean, outside of, you know, finding multiple idols, if one of those idols didn't happen and Ben was sent home, she's probably the winner. So I think she's very capable. Next, Christian Hubicki, David versus Goliath. Um, Obviously very intelligent, capable in challenges. Uh, I feel like he's just not just likable, but I think people understand how capable he is and how valuable that is in challenges. So I don't think that's going to be a thing early on for him as a problem. I think that will benefit the tribe that he is on, and people be like, yeah, we want Christian on our side. We want him helping us get through these challenges. And he's just, very personable. You know, he knows how to communicate. And I think Survivor 50, I think will work well for him. Um, Angela from the same season, she got third place. Um, I feel like even in that season, she was kind of under the radar. Maybe not as appreciated as what she was trying to do in the game with her ability to negotiate and try to finagle and just I think that I could see her running under the radar in this season and just pivoting where she needs to go with whoever she needs to move with to make a move or just to stay in the game. Uh, so I could see her moving around. Am I saying that well, everyone? Next is Mike White. Um, Again, David's versus Goliath. Second place finish. Incredible creator. You know, he's um someone I feel like people want to know and they want to be around. So it's like, yeah, you want to keep people that you want around you in the game. And I think I don't know, is the only thing, how will he fare in the early game with challenges? And what's the mentality with the tribes and how they move forward? Are they going to be whoever loses? All right, we have to be the strongest to try to go back so we don't go to the tribal council again. And anyone who maybe isn't as great in challenges, which I don't remember whether or not Mike White is, so please forgive me. I don't remember his prowess in the challenges. Um, but I think if that's not an issue, I think there's a likability of him where I think he'll be fine. Rick Devens, uh, I think Devens I'm more concerned of. I think people remember the new catchy news report jingle, the sneakiness, the idols, I think that could hurt him. Yes, he's super likable, and he makes for a good ally, but I question whether or not people are going to forget how he was able to sneak, get idols, make fake idols, present it to people where they found them. So I think Devins could potentially be in trouble here, and maybe we see an early boot for Devins. Not that I'm asking for that, but just initial thoughts. That would be my concern with Devins. Next, Jonathan Young. I mean, dude was carrying his tribe through challenges. Total beast. Uh, I don't know. I think if he's on your tribe, there's good chance you're going to win, and which makes me think he's going to be around for a while. Um, so that's my initial thoughts on him because I just, that stands out in my mind so much. What Survivor was that? That was Survivor 42. Again, I'm on Entertainment Weekly, Dalton Ross's article. Just want to make sure give him the credit for where I'm finding the cast. So Survivor 42 finished fourth place. Yeah, he was just massive beast in challenges. So I personally can't see a reason why someone's going to want to vote him out early. So I think, if he can have that same trajectory, I could see him having a similar output as he did in Survivor 42. Next, Emily Flippin is at 46, 5. I mean, so I think Emily, I think where, how does she start? Um, I think she started slowly in Survivor 45, and then when she stuck around after, a couple votes, she got her feet. Um, but I remember that. I remember seeing her thrive and then making a big move, which at the moment I can't even, you know, remember who she got, who she planned to get out. But I remember that, and I think the cast might remember that. So similarly to Devon's, I'm wondering, would she be an easy target to get out where it's like, hey, you can't let her fly under the radar and then come to the surface and then, get you at the end. So that's where I am. It was great seeing her transformation in the season. Very fun to watch. So I hope that's not the case. I hope she sticks around. But I could see that memory of her kind of her upward trajectory and people being like in Survivor 40, people are like, oh wait, she's got some game. So we gotta get rid of her. So that's where I am with her. D, Survivor 45 winner. Even though she's a winner, super personable, uh, great in challenges. I'm I know there are only what 4 or 5 winners in this season. For some reason, I'm not worried about D. Um, I think she has an ability to connect, and I think she can help her tribe move forward, especially early on. So I would think that people would want her around to help hopefully win immunity challenges. So I'd say I'm on the upswing for D. And I could see her making the merger jury at the least. Q, Q is great to watch. He's fun. Um, I worry. One is Tiffany and Charlie, who are the next two on this list. Are they going to remember the chaos that came with Q? Um, and will that spread to the rest of the cast? Should they not remember watching this season? Um, so I think Q's very likable, but I think the chaos of that season and his part in that, I think could make him a, do we really want to deal with that moving forward, or do we just go ahead and get rid of it early? Um, so it really depends on how his tribe does, and then maybe wh- can he last long enough to have an impact later in the game? So that's where my worry is. Charlie, again, there's that connective tissue of a chaotic ending where he, could have won, second place finish. Um, and, he did doing well throughout the game in the social game, strategy challenges. It seems like he's a very capable player. And because it's recent, I could see that making him a target. Tiffany, I, of the Survivor 46 trio that's on this season, I think she has the best shot of going the furthest. I think her social game, she seems so likable. I think she's clearly loyal. I think there are times where she could have let Q go. Um, and I think that Tiffany could better than Q. Maybe not better than Charlie, but I do think that she doesn't have the chaos of Q, the close call, falling short of winning with Charlie. And I think so Tiffany, I think, could be kind of be under their positioning where she's not as noticed, but equally as likable, if not more. So I think she'll do better than Charlie or Q. Genevieve from 47, very crafty. Um, I think I think the way she vocalized her game, I think it was during Tribal Council, um, during that season of how trying to play like systematic and not emotional, but it's not necessarily who she is. And I think maybe that realization will help her play more kind of like connected game with other players. Um, and I think that maybe her first outing will help her maybe even do better than she did, which was what, fifth place. Um, so I think she could be okay. If players don't feel like she's playing like robotically or whatever in this season, and she's very upbeat, and she's the you know doesn't have that perception of just being a game bot, but more of like, hey, she's there to socialize too. She can strategize with you as well. Like, if people pick up on that, I think it'll help her out. Um, Kyle, the winner. Um, I will admit that Kyle, Joe, and Camilla are on from Survivor 48. I think Kyle and Camilla on this season together, it's kind of tough for both players because it could go both ways. It could go against Kyle because he's the winner and he has an immediate pair, um, and that can make him a target. Camilla, you know, she had this strategic depth with Kyle where they work together under the radar. So I think I'm concerned about both players. I think they are in a kind of a as a Jeremy Natalie situation where one of them will be targeted as soon as possible, so that way they're not a pair again. So I'm worried about them. Joe, I think because of his loyalty, um, I could see that benefiting him early on, where people are like, okay, he's going to help us in challenges. You know, he'll have our backs, to a degree. And I could see Joe doing better than Kyle or Camilla just because I think Kyle and Camilla, if they're not on the same tribe, I think if their tribe loses, they become an immediate target. Um, and just moving past that, we've got, Savannah and Rizzo. I think Savannah is completely capable in challenges. Like, I don't see any reason why anyone would think she's a liability whatsoever. She's proven that. Uh, she, had this, whenever she was going to be the target, she won immunity. And early on, I felt like first half of the season, her tribe had control. So I'm not worried about Savannah's game. Rizzo, if he's on the same tribe with Savannah, maybe they team up again and they kind of look out for each other. I wonder with Rizzo's challenge ability again, will that make him more of a threat? Um, and on the flip side, Rizzo could use, hey, I'm not on the same tribe with Savannah. I could, maybe help us out later if we connect. But I'm not sure. Um, I think they're at an advantage because maybe, everyone didn't see their season. So I think that helps Savannah and Rizzo, because, you know, Savannah doesn't have to admit to winning. I mean, I don't think they would announce it. Maybe they do, but I mean, she doesn't have to admit they won. Um, they could say, "Oh, we were blindsided, and made the jury, but we didn't make the final," or they're crafty. Like the two of them know how to play. They know how to play Survivor, so I think that they can, you know, manifest something similarly to Kyle and Camilla, but Kyle and Camilla don't have the, oh, we didn't get to see their season like Savannah and Rizzo. We didn't get to finish their seasons. We don't know how they did. We don't know how they play, but people know how Kyle and Camilla play. So that's why I think they are higher on the target rate than Savannah or Rizzo. That's the season in a nutshell. As I drop my glove, um, I think Survivor 50 could be a lot of fun. Um, I'm excited about returning season. It's been since Winners at War, which is Winners was War was fantastic. I love that season. I think making a winner pick is kind of crazy to think about because there are winners in this season. Um, if I had to pick a winner who I think could win this season, honestly, I think D or Savannah are probably the ones more likely to come out on top as a returning winner. One, Savannah's, her game's unknown. She's completely capable. You know, D, you know, she really knows how to build relationships. She's also great in challenges. Um, and if they both go deep and then you see them head to head in immunity challenges, I mean, that would be pretty epic to see, knowing how they both did on their seasons. As far as a non-winner, um, I think does everyone roots for Suri, right? Like, um, I and although I root for Suri, I don't know how a returning season. Um, I don't see how Suri can win Survivor. I say that, but there's still a part of me that believes it can happen because Suri is, she just seems like such a down to earth, uh, fun loving, friendly, kind person who also knows how to like take you out in a heartbeat. So, yeah, I do think that she has the ability to win. I don't know if I could see her making to the end. And I think the biggest thing is the number of times that she's played. Her and Ozzy have played a ton. Coach has played 3 times. Um, was it Stephanie's played 3 times? Colby 3 times. So a non-returning player to win, man, I think maybe Angelina, you know, maybe Tiffany. Um, I mean, if Jonathan goes on an immunity run, would that be impressive if he gets to that point? Like he fell short of final tribal. So, could that how would that look in the new era with and how would that have looked in his season if he made it to the final? Um, and yeah, I think those are my initial thoughts. So if I have to pick one winner pick, um, you know what? Oh, this is so tough. Me making decisions, this is like a common thing where I just kind of like ho and hum and just, you should see me try to like order stuff online. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I think an under the radar player who's not a winner, someone like Angelina, Tiffany, um, you know, even you know, Chrissy could come back and like put herself in a similar position where she finds a group, um, but I'm delaying. So if I have to give a winner pick, it's going to be between, I'll say Angelina, Tiffany, and maybe D or Jonathan. So I will go with, I'll go with D. Why not? If it's a non-winner, let's say, hmm, do I go with Angelina? Okay, I'll go with Angelina or Tiffany, something like that. Yeah, I don't have to pick just one. Whatever. I've got a few at the top. So those are my thoughts. If this is something that you find interesting, where I'm talking about the Survivor cast, if instead of writing articles over on the Neverending Streamer on my Substack, you know, let me know in the comments whether or not this is your thing. And then, yeah, this is great. Thanks for stopping in and listening to me ramble about Survivor 50. Just a shout out to Dalton Ross and the Entertainment Weekly article, which I used to read the cast names off in their seasons. So, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll catch you around next time.